The conclusion of the Six Nations Championship provided a sobering but insightful assessment of England national rugby union team under the guidance of Steve Borthwick. It was a campaign marked by inconsistency, experimentation, and flashes of promise, but ultimately one that left more questions than answers. Across the squad, certain players enhanced their reputations, while others struggled to meet expectations in a system still searching for cohesion. Outside backs, promise without consistency. England's back three options reflected the wider story of their campaign, moments of individual brilliance undermined by a lack of sustained impact. Freddie Steward entered the tournament with an opportunity to cement himself as the undisputed first-choice fullback. After encouraging performances against Wales and Scotland, however, his momentum stalled dramatically. A difficult outing against Ireland led to his omission from the matchday squad entirely, a decision that highlighted how precarious his standing had become. Rather than securing the jersey, Steward ended the championship seemingly further from it. In contrast, Elliot Daly offered a steadier, if unspectacular, alternative. Reintroduced at fullback against Italy and France, Daly added a valuable playmaking dimension and was reliable from the tee. Yet, his performances never fully convinced that he is the long-term answer, particularly with George Furbank looming as a preferred option when fit. Marcus Smith's role remained a source of intrigue. Frequently deployed from the bench, he injected tempo and creativity when introduced, particularly in high-intensity matches against Ireland and France. His ability to shift momentum may yet force his way into the starting 15, especially as England look to evolve their attacking structure. On the wings, Henry Arundell experienced a tale of two tournaments. His explosive start, including a hat-trick against Wales, showcased his finishing prowess. However, disciplinary issues, most notably a costly red card against Scotland, combined with inconsistent displays saw his influence wane. Despite finishing as England's top try-scorer, his campaign ultimately felt underwhelming. Tom Roebuck gradually improved after a slow start, understandable given his lack of recent game time. While he never quite reached his peak levels, the experience gained should benefit him moving forward. Meanwhile, Cadan Murley seized his late opportunity impressively. His dynamism and willingness to attack the line added a spark that England had often lacked, positioning him as a strong contender for future selection. Midfield, experimentation and uncertainty. England's midfield selections were among the most debated aspects of their campaign. Tommy Freeman's transition into the centres was a bold move that largely paid off. While still refining his positional awareness, his physicality and direct running provided consistent go-forward ball. His performances suggested he could become a long-term solution in the 13-channel. Seb Atkinson endured a mixed tournament. A difficult outing against Italy exposed his defensive vulnerabilities, but he responded positively in subsequent matches, showing resilience and a willingness to improve. Fraser Dingwall, initially seen as a key figure, struggled to impose himself. Despite his technical skill and vision, he failed to influence games consistently and fell out of favor as the tournament progressed. Injuries limited Ollie Lawrence to a peripheral role. His absence, however, created space for Freeman's emergence, potentially reshaping the midfield hierarchy moving forward. Halfbacks, a battle for control at fly-half, the contest between George Ford and Finn Smith defined England's tactical direction. Ford began strongly but gradually lost his grip on the position as the tournament unfolded. His displacement reflected a shift in approach, with England seemingly favoring a more expansive style. Finn Smith capitalized on his opportunity, particularly with a composed performance against France that hinted at a more progressive attacking blueprint. While not flawless, his display suggested he could be central to England's future plans. At scrum half, Alex Mitchell found himself constrained by tactical limitations. Known for his attacking instincts, he appeared restricted within England's structured system. This disconnect raised questions about how best to utilize his strengths. Ben Spencer, by contrast, thrived when given a starting role. His measured approach and playmaking ability aligned well with England's evolving style, particularly in the high-tempo encounter against France. Jack van Poortvliet also made a positive impression in limited opportunities, demonstrating sharpness and composure that could earn him more consistent involvement. Back row, effort without dominance. England's back row worked tirelessly but struggled to assert dominance. Ben Earl stood out as a consistent performer, offering dynamism and carrying threat throughout the tournament. His ability to gain ground and break tackles made him one of England's most valuable assets. Tom Curry and Sam Underhill, both influential figures in previous campaigns, were unable to replicate their best form. Injuries and inconsistency limited their impact, leaving England without their usual defensive edge. Henry Pollock continued to develop, showing energy and potential despite being a frequent target for opposition teams. Meanwhile, Guy Pepper contributed solidly but without standout moments. Second row, building momentum in the engine room, Ollie Chessum emerged as a key figure. His performances at both lock and blindside flanker demonstrated versatility and physicality, while also stabilizing England's lineout. Maro Itoje, often seen as a talisman, endured a slow start but finished strongly. His improved performances in the latter stages highlighted his enduring class. Even in a challenging campaign, Alex Coles impressed with his work rate and consistency, while Chandler Cunningham South showed glimpses of potential in limited appearances. Front row, a mixed bag. England's front row delivered a blend of resilience and inconsistency. Joe Hayes was one of the standout performers, stepping up impressively in the absence of Will Stewart. His scrummaging solidity and work rate established him as a cornerstone of the pack. Ellis Genge provided leadership and aggression, particularly in the scrum, though occasional errors detracted from his overall impact. Veteran Jamie George continued to defy expectations with consistent performances, particularly in line-out execution. His experience remained invaluable. However, not all front rowers fared as well. Luke Cowan-Dickey struggled to maintain a starting role, while Trevor Davison and Bevan Rodd had limited opportunities to make a significant impact. The bigger picture: England's 2026 Six Nations campaign was defined less by results and more by transition. Borthwick's willingness to make bold selection decisions, dropping established players, experimenting with positional changes, and introducing new faces, reflected a broader attempt to reshape the team's identity. The shift towards a more expansive style, particularly evident in the latter stages, hinted at a long-term vision. However, the inconsistency in execution highlighted the challenges of implementing such changes at international level. Conclusion: ultimately, England's player ratings tell the story of a team in flux. There were clear positives, emerging talents, strong individual performances, and glimpses of a more dynamic attacking approach. Yet, these were offset by inconsistency, selection uncertainty, and a lack of cohesion. For Borthwick, the task ahead is clear: refine the balance between structure and creativity, establish a settled core, and build on the lessons of this turbulent campaign. If he can achieve that, England may yet transform these growing pains into a foundation for future success.